Get your back hip into it.
And now it's time for football.
Yes, sir.
Enid Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve.
Good.
Hello again and welcome to Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve. It's our pleasure each week to bring you the latest of Enid Plainsmen Football. And the Plainsmen are off to a 2-0 start. Do I hear a woo-hoo or something like that?
Yeah, it's as good as it gets right now. I love it.
2-0. And they had a bye week, but their last game they went to Ponca City and pulled out. Just squeaked by with a 61-34 victory over the Ponca City Wildcats. We're going to talk a little bit about the Wildcat game from a couple Fridays ago and also what they did this week. Coach Hayes, it's good to see you again. Congratulations, 2-0 start. How does that feel?
Feels great. I mean, it's exactly what you want to do. Going this far, you can't win them all if you don't win the first two. And we're looking forward to playing McGinnis this week and trying to go 3-0. And so right now we're all about McGinnis and this one football game. And I think one of the reasons we've done as well as we've done is we've taken it one game at a time, and now we're moving on to the next one.
From personal experience and just knowing other ball players through the years, I remember practice seemed to be a lot more fun, seemed to be a lot more enjoyable when we were 2-0 or 4-0 or things of this nature.
Yeah.
So the attitude, the atmosphere at Plainsman practice is what?
I would liken it to working really hard and getting a paycheck versus working really hard and not getting a paycheck. And it feels like winning and losing is getting a paycheck or not getting a paycheck. And I agree. I think the attitude's been fantastic. This past week, we're fortunate that we get 2 weeks to prepare for McGinnis, our next opponent. But we had a great week of practice, great attitude, great enthusiasm. I think the kids are really excited and the coaches are really excited about how we started so well.
Speaking of this last week of practice, let's talk a little bit about the bye week. Typically, it's an opportunity to regroup, maybe some injuries to get healed up a little bit, maybe to work on a few things that have been kind of bothering or hampering progress for the first 2 weeks. Tell us a little bit about the bye week. Was it time just to kind of catch your breath and regroup, or?
I think the bye week is, from a workout standpoint, is more of an off-season week. We lifted very heavy last week. We did a lot of running and conditioning, which is more like a springtime type workout. And then we weren't doing as much hitting in practice, not nearly as physical. We only really hit one day, and that was on Thursday. But a lot of game plan, mental preparation, a lot of video study for McGinnis, addressing some of the problems that maybe we've had the last 2 weeks that we need to correct as well. But we spent a lot of time preparing for McGinnis this last week and using it as an opportunity to get ahead of them because they were preparing for their arch rival, Kelly. And so we wanted to make sure we took advantage of that.
Coach Steve Hayes referring to Oklahoma City McGinnis, the Fighting Irish, which will be the next opponent for the Plainsmen this coming Friday in Oklahoma City. And we'll talk a little bit more specific about the Irish here later on in the show today. Yeah. Let's go back a couple Fridays to Ponca City, 61-34 to go 2-0. Tell us just your overall, when the game was over against the Wildcats at Ponca City, what was your thoughts when the game was over?
I was really proud of how well the kids played the entire game. We didn't have a letdown in the second half. Even though we had a commanding lead, we continued to play really well. The only lapse that we potentially had was we had a period there where we put some backups in, and they continued to play their starters, and they struggled a little bit. But other than that, offensively, defensively, and special teams-wise, I thought the team played really well. Defense was very opportunistic. We had 5 interceptions, 4 of them by Seth Ellis. He set a new school record by having 4 interceptions. One was a 94-yard touchdown return that basically put the game away at 61. And then offensively, we had so many kids. We had 8 kids catch balls, multiple kids score touchdowns, 5 running backs touch the football. And so it was just a very productive night overall, and the kids did well.
And I know from the coach's perspective and even the player's perspective, when the ball gets shared like that, it just creates this kind of fun atmosphere.
Sure. There's no doubt. It's great when everybody gets their name in the paper and gets a line in the stat line.
Sure.
And it's a reward for hard work.
Before we look at the highlights on the Ponca City game, what are some of the highlights that we will see that you just want to focus on?
Defensively, you're going to see some of the opportunistic plays that we made. You'll see Seth Ellis's 94-yard interception return. You'll see Dylan Gall sack the quarterback, strip the ball, and Jay Sean Sears picks it up and returns it for a touchdown. So our 2 defensive scorers are on there. And then we have another interception as well by Seth Ellis. And so it was a big night for him. You get to see 2 of his 4. And offensively, you're going to see a big fake punt pass from Mason Scrimmager to Marlo Hughes, 50-yard play that set us up for a score. A great run by Khalid Lee, about 35 yards out for a touchdown. An option play by Mason Scrimmager early in the game, first drive. He runs down the field for about 50 yards to set up our first score. And then a pass catch and run by Matt Clark on a long touchdown pass and catch by him where he makes a great move on the corner and jukes him out and scores. Some really exciting highlights from this week's game.
And that's what we like to see, and I know that's what you like to see.
Yes, sir.
Versus
exactly
one.
Right.
So let's take time to see the highlights from the Ponca City Enid Plainsmen ball game from a few weeks ago where the Plainsmen won 61-34. Let's look at those highlights right now. Welcome back to Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve. Hope you enjoyed those highlights, and we again we'll continue to provide those highlights for you each week. Coach, 2-0 start that we've already talked about here on the show today. Are you where you kind of thought you were? Or are you behind somewhere? Are you ahead? Can you kind of give us an overview where you're at 2-0 with the
Well,
team?
I mean, I feel like we're where we need to be, but we have to continue to improve each week. You know, the Leave a Legacy theme is really coming into play so far in the first 2 weeks. It's the first time any team's gone 2-0 since 2012. First time a kid's ever had 4 interceptions in a game. Most points scored in a game since 2012. And so we're starting to do things that you saw in successful teams in the past, which is great, and it's a great feeling. I'm really excited about the game this week because it's a very difficult opponent. It'll give us a good gauge of where we are in relationship to district, and it's a great preparation game for the games that really matter, and that starts in 2 weeks against Putnam City West. And so, I think where we need to be, and I think the kids are doing a good job of taking those next steps, and we'll continually to gauge our progress after each opponent.
Very good. Speaking of student athletes, let's take this time out, if you will, and let's meet other members of Plainsmen Football, and we'll have our student athlete here on the set right after this.
Marlo Hughes, number 26, running back and defensive back, class of 2018.
Augie Pritchett, 50, defensive end, 2018.
My name is Damian Ryman, number 13, play receiver and corner in the class of 2020.
Sebastian America, 84, I receive corner, sophomore.
All right, Will Phillips, number 1, running back, DB, class of 2019.
Welcome back to Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve. We really appreciate the opportunity to hear from you, and like to remind you, if you have a question with Coach Hayes, send it to asksteve@enid.org, and we'll get that question, and we'll be addressing some questions and some game situations here in just a few moments. But right now, one of the favorite parts of the show is our student athlete highlight. We have Ivey Mace joining us today. Ivy, good morning. It's good to see you again, and thanks for being with us. And how's things going?
It's going really good. 2-0 start. It's a good start to the season. We're starting to get into the meat and potatoes of the season, the real nitty gritty, to prove ourselves point of the season. So it was good having that bye week, to refresh and repair and go into this really strong. So.
Very good. Well, here's a real tough time. You got some one-on-one questions with Coach Hayes, so get ready for this.
I'm excited about having Ivy here. He's been a 2-year starter for us, and and is a really good leader for us as well. Was a captain for one of our games already this year, and just real proud about how much he's improved and grown as a person and a player. Ivy, talk a little bit about what you've done in the last 6 months to prepare for this season.
Wow. Honestly, it's been a journey. It's been a real journey, and anything from the weight room to helping out, just being a part of the community. Just really at school, doing my best at school, doing my best on the field, doing my best at home, and everywhere I'm really at. So, and just really preparing for the season, and just knowing it's my senior year, that final run as a Plainsman, just to make it really count. So,
When you say, excuse me, Coach, when you say helping out the community, Ivy, what do you mean? Can you give us an example?
Well, our coach, we have to earn this headdress that we get, and there's a lot of things we can do to go and help out with EGRT. I played for the Cowboys, so EGRT is a really big thing for me. So it was really cool that Coach gave us the opportunity to go out and help with, the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th graders here in Enid. So
yeah,
awesome.
Ivy does a good job with the kids. Ivy, you've changed your body composition a little bit in the last 8 months. Talk a little bit about your off-season numbers as far as your maxes and how you've improved.
It's been a pretty huge improvement, actually. I went up a couple sizes, like in my pants and stuff, so that's the stressful part. But yeah.
Yeah, me too. I don't know.
We have a really great strength and conditioning coach, Sean Smith, and he really pushes us on, hip movement, mobility, stuff like that. And, I went from 455 squat to, around 500 squat and 315 bench from 265. So, really big explosions this last summer. It's really cool to get in the weight room and, be around the other kids and let them know that you can push yourself that much, just, it's a good to be example for the other kids and the upcoming kids.
Ivy's a good example of why we're so much more competitive physically as far as how much he's improved his strength, and he represents a big portion of our kids.
And that was going to be kind of my next question. How does that transfer to the game? You're able to lift more and so forth. So give us an example. Someone says, okay, so he can lift 100 pounds more. How does that transfer to a third down play or whatever?
Honestly, I would say it's about 50-50. You do have to be physically, ready. That's one thing you have to be. You don't want to get hurt. You have to be strong to not get injured. But I do believe it's a very mental thing. As a team, we become ready in the weight room. We become ready on the field during 7-on-7. We take different steps at all times to become ready as a team to be able to finish on the field. So.
One thing it's allowed Ivy to do is allowed Ivy to help us defensively, in that he can play linebacker and defensive end, which I think gives us a real athletic defensive end when we put him down. And then also he started a linebacker last year and has experience there, and so it makes us more versatile having that type of player on the defense side of the ball, really kind of a hybrid. Ivy, talk a little bit about what your plans are when you graduate, what you want to do.
I plan to actually pursue a bachelor's in economics and become an appraiser, a home appraiser someday. So that's just, football really, I feel like it can help me get there and get that done. So it's awesome being around, people that want to go and pursue things in life and everything. So it's awesome, just getting it done and having a plan and, playing football. I'm at it. Just really living it up right now, so things are really good.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Coach?
No, sir, that's good.
Okay, one final question for you, Ivy. Can you kind of sum up just the experience of playing high school football here at Enid?
It's changed a lot. I wasn't here my freshman year. I wish I would have been, so I could have really seen the full drastic change. But it's a really great thing nowadays. It's they ask a lot out of you, but in the end you realize that you're worthy of what they're asking out of you. That you are capable of greatness, and you're capable of being accountable, like MDAL. So integrity, mental toughness, discipline, accountability, and loving one another. You're on the field. You're accountable. You're accountable in everything you do. So just awesome.
Very good. Well, now you can see why this is one of my favorite segments, because you get to meet articulate, professional, and just really sharp student athletes. Coach, thanks for bringing Ivey Mace with us today. Ivy, wish you well,
for having me.
And hope to have you back. Ivey Mace is our special student athlete for this week. Now let's take a time out, if you will, and let's meet some of the assistant coaches.
My name is Sean Smith. I coach the offensive line and am the run game coordinator. I teach physical education now this year, and my favorite movie would have to be anything Will Ferrell. We have a good relationship with our coaches doing Step Brothers quotes on the sideline, so that's definitely got to be up there. My most influential person would have to be Coach Jerry Kill. He was my college coach. He's from Cheney, Kansas, about 30 minutes from my hometown. And he's just been probably one of the most positive guys I've ever been around in dealing with adversity. He fought through multiple rounds of cancer. He has epilepsy. I've seen him have seizures on the sideline. And the man just comes to work and puts his job and his family over everybody or over himself. And that's just probably been one of the biggest influences I've ever had in my life.
Hi, my name is Weston McGill. I coach linebackers for the football team. I teach basic computers at the high school. My favorite book is The Leadership Challenge, and my most influential person is Byron Pudwell, who coached me at the high school level.
Coach, this is when I have to really put you on the spot here. So okay. I really enjoyed this segment. Yeah. Let's talk about a couple game situations, if you will. Offsides on the kickoff. How can that be? So explain that to us.
Well, there's really three basic things that you have to look for on the kickoff. Number one, the team that's kicking off, they have to have a foot on the 35-yard line. You kick off from the 40. And it keeps them from getting too far back and getting too much of a run up to the ball and building up too much speed. So it's a safety factor. The ball is placed on the 40, and so if anybody steps across the 40-yard line prior to the kicking of the ball, that's an illegal procedure penalty as well. So you have to be behind the kicker and behind the kicking of the ball. The front line to the return team has to be behind the 50-yard line. So if any one of the return team are in front of the 50-yard line, then that's going to be a penalty as well. And so it's basically where you lined up when the ball's kicked. After that, it's you're free to go wherever you want to go.
Coach, the other night I was watching a ball game, and they called threw a flag and said illegal formation in the backfield. And I guess the explanation is that the team had probably 5-6 guys in the backfield. In layman's term, illegal formation in the backfield means what?
Well, of the 11 offensive players, 7 have to be on the line of scrimmage. And the line of scrimmage is the line determined by where the ball's placed. And so 7 of the 11 have to be on the ball. The other 4 can be lined up anywhere they want to off the ball. They can be lined up on the ball as well. You can have more than 7, but you can't have less. And I think that helps the defense to identify eligible receivers, things like that, and keep the offense from being deceptive.
Very good. Well, let's move into kind of the game situations. And we've done this last couple of years, and I've enjoyed visiting with you to get an understanding of what coaches go through to make certain calls. I know it's not cookie cutter example. It's 3rd and 6. We're going to do ABC.
Yeah.
But what goes into the maybe discussion? Do you talk to assistant coaches, or do you already have it formulated in your mind, okay, it's 3rd and 6, this is what we're going to do?
You know, 3rd and 6 is really that gray area of whether or not you can, in high school, whether or not you can run the football or throw the football. I think in college, in the NFL, you're pretty much going to get a passing down on 3rd and 6. And in high school, I think you potentially can make a first down running the football. Right now, we're averaging almost 8 yards a rush. And so based on our average, that it's wide open for us. We can call whatever it is that we would normally call on any other down on 3rd and 6. And a lot of times I look at 3rd down as a 2-down situation because I like to go for it on 4th. I hate to punt. I don't like it. And so, if I'm looking at it as, hey, I've got to get a 4th and 2 to be able to have another down, now I'm really only looking to get 4 yards or more at that point, which really allows us to run the football at that point. And so you're going to have to defend my whole playbook on 3rd and 6.
What's the toughest call to make? Is it for a head coach during a game? Is it when you have the ball or when you're on defense? Is there a time that just comes to mind that, that's a real difficult call?
I think the trickiest play calling comes on like a 3rd and goal from the 5, where you don't have a very big field to attack. The defense doesn't have to defend as much space.
Yeah.
And so the passing game is a little bit tougher down there. And things have to happen a lot quicker, reaction a lot quicker. And so I think you have to be much better at executing your offense in those type of situations than any other place on the field.
Very good. Well, that's our Chalk Talk segment for today with Coach Steve Hayes of the Enid Plainsmen. Again, if you have a question for Coach Hayes, you can send it to AskSteve@enid.org. That's AskSteve@enid.org, and we'll put those questions here on the Chalk Talk segment. Well, as we move along in Plainsmen football, let's take this opportunity to meet more members, I should say, of Plainsmen football right now.
My name is Steven Phillips, number 9, running back in Sam, class 2020.
name's Raven Atkins, number's 51, play offensive line, my class is 28.
My name's Ron Stotts, number 14. I play receiver, and I'll be a senior this year.
My name is McGinnis Porter. I'm number 31, position wide receiver, class 2020.
My name's Enid. I'm number 11. I'm a linebacker, and I'm in the class of 2019.
Welcome back to today's show with Coach Steve Hayes. And Coach, bye week, and you've already talked about preparation, a little bit of rest, if you will, and preparation for Oklahoma City McGinnis, the Fighting Irish, game on the road. As people go to Oklahoma City, they can go down I-35, and then they can take I-44 over to Western Street exit, and then go south on Western, and then you're right there at the campus of McGinnis. What do you know about the Fighting Irish? 5A school.
Yeah, they're a great program. They have a great history. They played for the state championship last year. They're ranked second in the state this year in 5A, and are 2-0 as well. I think offensively you're going to see a really good running back in number 2. He's a great player and very explosive young player. He's a sophomore, but extremely talented. Reminds me a lot of our Khalid Lee. Khalid's going to give us a good scout team picture this week, imitating him. Their quarterback is more likely to run the football this year. He's a good runner. Reminds me a lot of the Guthrie quarterback, same stature and same type of philosophy as far as running him. And he's a pretty good thrower. I mean, so we'll have to defend every aspect of the game on defense. We'll have to defend the pass and run equally as well because they're pretty competent at both. And I think the key is going to be we can't let number 2 hurt us. Defensively, they're a bend but don't break type philosophy. They're a 3-4, keep everything in front of them, and they want you to have to take multiple plays to try and score because they feel like you can't do that. You're going to make a mistake. And so it'll be a little bit tougher to get the home run this week. We're going to have to take advantage of what they give us and execute well. And I'm really excited about the challenge of going against a well-coached team that has some good athletes because I think it prepares us for the games that matter the most, and that's district. And so this is really a good preparation game to start district in the following week against PC West because we'll truly get a gauge of where we're at as a team based on how well we do this week.
Well, McGinnis had their recent rival, Bishop Kelly, out of Tulsa. That's always, any rival game is exciting. What did you learn from that ball game?
I was actually able to attend that game since we had a bye, and so we drove to Tulsa and watched them play one another. And, you know, I was really impressed with how well McGinnis executed. The Owen Condon kid, who's going to be playing for Georgia next year, a 6'8", 335 tackle, is definitely an impressive physical specimen to watch him walk out on the field. He's heads and shoulders above everybody else, and we'll have to come up with a way to make sure that we neutralize him. And just to see their kids in person, they're other than Owen, they're not overly big. Defensively, there's nobody really bigger than 220 on the field, which is unusual. We normally see kids that are bigger than that, but very athletic and they run well. And you get to see a whole lot more in person when you see the kids. And you know, we actually stood by where they walked in and out off the field so we could I was as close to them as I am to you right now to kind of eyeball them and see what they actually look like. Sometimes it's hard to tell in pads, and you don't know if the rosters are right. Sometimes they're inflated or deflated depending on the philosophy of the coach. And so, great game environment. What an awesome rivalry game. And it's neat to see those kids in those contexts, and especially in a stadium as small as Kelly's where everybody's kind of crammed in there and right on top of the field. So it was a fun Friday night.
Well, the game is, the game is at McGinnis there on Western in Oklahoma City. Tell us, is it 7 o'clock kickoff?
7 o'clock kickoff, yes, sir.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about, you're on the road and you look up into the stands and you see a lot of parents. It's obvious you see a lot of parents, but there's some diehard football fans. They're going to travel no matter what.
Sure.
So probably should have asked Ivey this question, but when you glance up into the stands and you see people that made the hour-and-a-half or 2-hour journey to your ball game, what's the thought?
It's a great feeling to have a large crowd there. I thought we had a great turnout for the Ponca game. Had a very good turnout for our first game of the season at home. And with 2-0 teams going against each other, they're going to come down and see a great football game, I think, a great high school football game between two really good teams. It's definitely going to be worth the trip.
So this is your opportunity to do an all-call, Coach.
All-call, yeah. All hands on deck. Let's fill that stadium up.
Very good. So, again, this Friday night, we have Oklahoma City McGinnis as the Plainsmen travel down to Oklahoma City to take on the Fighting Irish. And, again, both schools 2-0. That's exciting. Well, as you recall in our student-athlete segment, Ivey Mace was talking about character development. So when we come back from this timeout, we're going to talk about this week's emphasis on character development with Plainsmen Football. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Plainsmen Football. We really appreciate you joining us. I'd like to keep in mind that, you can watch this on Channel 11. There's a variety of times. You'll see the times on your screen, and we encourage you to share it with your parents, with everybody within the Enid community about Plainsmen Football. Ivey Mace said something about character development, and Steve, again, forgive me for repeating, one of my things, I guess the word is attraction to your philosophy in coaching was the emphasis on character development. Sure. So what are we working on this week?
We are going to work on the D in the word MDAL, and that's discipline. Our program's definition of discipline is to start fast, stay focused, and finish strong, which really, to me, plays to the consistency of being great. Be great all the time. Every day, great should be the norm. And how are you great? By whatever you choose to do, you start fast, which means you start with a great attitude, with all that you have. You consistently do that over and over again. You stay focused, and then you finish strong. You finish well. And, that's a great philosophy for a ball game. It's a great philosophy for life. It's a great philosophy for any project you start in life. And we really hammer that into our kids. When we play a football game on Friday night, we want to start fast. We've done really well at that the last two games. Our defense has gotten them off the field first drive of both halves. Our offense has scored 3 out of 4 times. The one time we didn't score, we finished on the 1-inch line. Just that whole, hey, we're going to start fast and do things well, and then to consistently do that the entire length of the game, and then when it comes time to finish well. And so I'm looking forward to covering that with the kids this week. I think it's an area we've really grown in the last 2 years, and I really hope that we excel there this year as well.
When you say that you hammer this home, or you just weave it into what the philosophy and practice is all about, are you talking about character issues during practice, or is this a pregame, after game, or how are you, as you say, hammering it home? How do you do that?
Well, I think, we really emphasize in every aspect of practice or anything that we do with the kids the importance of being consistently great.
Okay.
Everything you do well all the time. And there's never a time that you don't. There's never a pass on that. And that's really a great approach to life. If we're going to do a Plainsman football show, let's make sure we do a great show, and let's make sure every show is great, because otherwise don't do it. And I think the same thing is true for everything in life. If we're going to practice today, let's have a great practice. Let's start right. Let's have a great practice even in the things we don't like to do, and let's finish this thing well even when we're tired. And so it's pretty all-encompassing.
Well, Coach Hayes just put us on the spot to raise the bar each week on the coaches show.
Right.
We've been trying to raise the studio bar each year. Yeah. So, golly, I'm going to have to get my act together.
Based on that, I had a friend down in Texas that watched our show last week, and his comment back was, "Wow, what an awesome production."
What was that guy's name?
It's actually Scott Phillips, who's one of the winningest coaches in high school football history in Texas, and. He was correctly impressed with what you guys are producing here. You guys do a great job.
Very good. Any closing thoughts? We got to close this one out and get ready for McGinnis. Any thoughts?
The best is yet to come. Make sure you don't miss it. Come in and watch the Plainsmen.
Okay.
I'm excited about these kids and what they're going to do this year.
Okay, and the next game will be 7 p.m. Friday night, Oklahoma City McGinnis in Oklahoma City. Again, one of the easy ways that I know to get there is down I-35, take the I-44 exit like you're going to Lawton, but you're not, thank goodness, going to Lawton.
Yes,
and you exit on Western, and you're right there at the campus of Oklahoma City McGinnis. Fighting Irish and the Enid Plainsmen this Friday, both 2-0. So, Coach, thanks for being here. We appreciate Ivey Mace being with us here today, and thank you for the lesson on character. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And special thanks to our friends out at On Deck, and we appreciate them helping us with our studio design as we try to raise the bar. The City of Enid also appreciates the relationship that we have with Dr. Darrell Floyd of Enid Public Schools. I want to say thanks to Ken Hedges for the work on the desk that we have, and also to Mike Goodpasture. Mike's provided us some football and our signage. Also to Dane, to Penn, and AJ behind the scenes to make Plainsman Football with Steve and Steve what it is. A lot of people, as you know, work behind the scenes to make it happen. Same thing in high school football. A lot of people behind the scenes. So.
You're right. Yes, sir.
But we hope to see you Friday night, the McGinnis and the Plainsman football game, and we're excited about what will take place. So until then, this is Steve Keim along with Coach Steve Hayes. Make it a great week. Thanks.
Thank you for watching Enid Plainsman Football with Steve and Steve on ETN.
Flat. Go.